Hello, MCR family. It's a little quick hit edition of the show because mainly we were trying to do a show tonight / whenever you're seeing this last night, and we couldn't. New software we're trying out was not working, so we're unfortunately cannot do a show last night or tonight, whenever you're seeing this. So the show got pushed back for Wednesday. I will be in attendance for a media event tomorrow, so I won't be able to do a show tomorrow. So that's why I'm here doing this really quick edition of the show, breaking down the Oleksandr Usyk news with Spong and that fight being canceled in a sense, right? At least Spong's side of it being canceled. And I had to get this news off to you before I went off yesterday, and I know I cannot get the information to you. So hit the like button, share this video, and if you're already subscribed, okay, hit that notification bell. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, and then hit the notification bell as well. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Find me at Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Let's talk about the news. And it's, man, how would someone say it?
It's bullshit.
Yep, that's a good way to say it, Usyk. Per Mike Coppinger, then Eddie Hearn, and everyone. First, we found out via Eddie Hearn, I think, was the first one to sort of come out with the news. And he was alerted via, obviously, VADA that Spong tested positive for an adverse finding. And now, via Mike Coppinger sources, Spong has been removed from his bout with Oleksandr Usyk. Eddie Hearn announced Spong's VADA test showed an adverse finding. Usyk will still make his heavyweight debut Saturday in Chicago on DAZN. So that's a good thing, you know. Unless we still get Usyk. And there are at least 5 replacement opponents being considered. And before we start running through who those 5 names are, breaking down just the news on its surface, Spong tested positive for an adverse analytical finding. Curious what he tested positive for. And on top of that, just curious to see what the reaction is and how this will affect the card that really wasn't getting any hype or attention anyways because it was a hardcore card. But now even took a bigger hit with Spong having some MMA connection no longer being attached to it. And if we get sort of a run-of-the-mill top 50 heavyweight, is it enough to really entice anyone outside hardcores and the deepest of hardcores to pay attention to Oleksandr Usyk's performance on DAZN this Saturday in Chicago? I think, again, looking at the probable names we could get, maybe a couple bring some attention to it, but still shrinking the audience actually probably more down to just a hardcore boxing audience and not really a hardcore combat sports audience, which Spong at least brought something to the table in that aspect, but it was a marginal aspect that he brought. But let's look at some of the names that could potentially, obviously, be up there with good old Oleksandr Usyk. Now, of course, all these top names, unlikely. From Andy Ruiz, who obviously is fighting AJ, to guys like Povetkin, Jared Miller, Pulev, maybe Filip Hrgovic is probably one of the best names you could get. Oscar Rivas, maybe. Christian Hammer, Jared Washington, maybe. You know, there's some names that you could potentially get that are ranked quite high on BoxRec. Take that for what it is. Other names, Artur Szpilka, who is Polish, and Chicago has a huge Polish population. Would make sense. Eric Molina, Robert Helenius, Brian Jennings. This sort of like top 30-ish range is probably where we're going to find ourselves. Brian Jennings, Bermain Stavern, Chris Areola. Maybe even you get a call for Otto Wallin, Joey DeWalco. Those are the names that are likely to be the replacement fight for Spong to fight Oleksandr Usyk. And to be honest, those are probably the best case scenarios too. Like those are names that at least us boxing fans know. It's quite likely we don't get one of those and we get someone outside the top 50 that none of us really know, none of us really care for. And even then, people we know we may not even care for. So it's a really unfortunate situation here for Usyk's heavyweight debut, which seems like it's been stunted time and time again, both by sort of his own doing at times with his own injury, unfortunately, and then on top of this, Spong's unfortunate happening of being tested positive for an adverse finding for some sort of PED or banned substance. And it's just, again, you have this perennial pound-for-pound talent. You have a guy that is probably on his way to a Hall of Fame career, and just when you think that like this is the division to open up the doors for him in a large way for maybe just a wider sporting audience, takes how many steps backwards? Just really unfortunate for Alexander Usyk. And again, as he says,
it's bullshit.
It is. And
I'm very
hits me in the feels, man, because I'm a huge Usyk fan. And again, depending who they get, it could be just sort of a net, situation here where there's no negative, there's no positive, just sort of a net status quo in terms of a headliner. If we get a Usyk versus Spielka or Gerald Washington or a Chris Arreola, guys of that nature, I think largely for us maybe being boxing fans, we might look at that with more positive light than a Tyron Spong fight, to be quite honest. But regardless, it doesn't, I think, provide the hype that Usyk really needs in a win in his heavyweight debut. And honestly, they should have just went for a big name. They should have went for Joseph Parker or Derek Chisora, somebody along those lines, instead of these top 30-ish guys. It just made no sense. But anyways, guys, hit the like button, share this video, subscribe. If you're subscribed, hit the notification bell. Only about 20% of you are subscribed. And only about 35% of you, I should say a huge 35% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. So go down there, hit that subscribe button. Do it. Trust me, it's going to be better for your life. You're going to get tons of combat sports content that is substantive and, I would say, innovative in the YouTube space. But digressing from that space, guys, or for that talk, I am at the Hipster Hunter. Find me all social media platforms, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all platforms, like I said. Have a great night, great evening, great day, wherever you are watching this video. Peace.